Hold on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this love meeting, this love movement meeting on the 17th of October, coinciding wonderfully with the eclipse that is happening at 12:26. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rachel, who has a reading for us.
Yeah, and Julie will love this one because I know Julie's read it before, but I went to an amazing open mic night in Middleton by Worksworth, and it was a real kind of freedom community thing, but like a folk evening, and it just brought home to me the power of community and singing and laughter and music, and it was just like, wow, it was so much fun. And I just thought, oh, I have to do something, and I just plucked this. So I'm going to read it out for you. So it's Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love. For in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy.
Fabulous. Great introduction. So let's come into this space for the love meeting, and we can go around each one in turn and see what's been going on this week. For me, I will make a start as I have that privilege. I've been reading, listening actually, because trying to find this time to read is quite difficult, but I've been listening a lot in the car, everywhere, and it sort of matches the idea that for me, beauty is the greatest beauty is clarity, is in clarity, as said by somebody called Lessing, I think. So I think for me, there is a few issues. There are earthly ones, and then there's spiritual ones. And I'm just wondering how to tie in what we do, the earthly, with the spiritual. So in my head, it's clearly, I think on the very earthly level, we are all about staying out of the trap that is being the net, if you like, which is also a trap of being trapped into totalitarian control, and that's the very earthly thing, isn't it? And I think that is just very it ties completely in with the spiritual, in my opinion. So what's been unfolding is the idea of our various belief systems trapping us into staying on this earthly plane. So going the sort of reincarnation trap, if you like, going out and being told we've got to come back and serve some purpose and coming back. Whereas I think what we want to do is to ascend, not reincarnate, ascend to become part of the one, which we are anyway. We must remember that. We talk about this as though it's something in the future sometimes, don't we? But we are all part of the divine energy of creation. We are all one, and we are that love and wisdom, and that rules the entire universe. But I do think there is a trap to bring us to this earthly plane and forget that and create the separation and duality that we have come to think of as normal. So for me, there's sort of one level to, keeping out of totalitarianism, and for another, keeping out of a different sort of totalitarianism, which is trapping our spirit into this earthly and maybe what some people would even call a heavenly plane, where you go and reincarnate. And I've been particularly reading at the moment, listening to at the moment, Robert Temple, who is talking about the Kordylewski clouds. I don't know whether anyone's heard of that. Kordylewski clouds, they don't seem to be very well known. Anyone heard? Can you just wave at me if you have? No? Okay. Well, I came across these probably about a year ago, I think, when I was it was one of these things that popped up on YouTube after Pam Gregory or something. I can't remember. I would be listening to something while I was cooking, and then this lecture came on by some astrophysicists, very obscure topic, Kordylewski clouds. And I was like, oh, that sounds a bit serious. So these are areas of plasma, big clouds of plasma, 9 times the size of the Earth in total. There's 2 of them. And if you're into plasma science, if you know anything about plasma science, you'll realize that plasma is actually capable of becoming conscious or creating conscious. And it's so plasma is sometimes thought of as the 4th state of matter, and it can create consciousness. It also accounts for, if you look at it, it can account for lots of what we call paranormal experiences. So these 2 clouds between the moon and here, which I think is also very significant, these huge clouds, 9 times the size of the Earth, are sitting there being conscious. And the scientists were saying they're a bit puzzling. They seem to be conscious. They've got the sort of storage and processing capacity of way more than Silicon Valley can imagine. They could easily hold the records of every single thing on Earth ever. And they seem, there is some evidence that that's an observation, or they are observing, but they seem to be benign, so that's okay. Now, Robert Temple is right in his Science of New Earth, considers these to be a little more controlling, I think. And possibly this is to do with the reincarnation trap, which is where I'm sort of thinking that might be going. So yeah, lots of clarity needed, and a sort of different way of looking at it. So we have to deal with this earthly plane. We have to deal with the totalitarianism here. I also think that there's a reason. This is a fairly new thing to me. I've adjusted my idea of God. I do think we are God. I do think we are God. We are the consciousness. We are the love and wisdom. We are all God. I do think religions have encouraged us to worship a false God. That, if you were an all-powerful God, you wouldn't create beings that have to make other beings suffer to survive, which we do. Even plants are now thought to feel things, feel some sort of suffering when we kill them. So that seems to me that this false God, if you like, is not completely what we've been led to believe, and that we have to remember that we are God. We are God. We are divine. We are God. So I do think the totalitarian system coming in is something to do with feeding that false God. And so the earthly issue for me, the conundrum is, how do we keep off this totalitarian system, which is designed to generate more loosh, let's call it loosh, that feeds the false God? How do we do that without ourselves creating more fear and loosh, more fear, disunity, us and them, hate, anger. How do we keep away this? How do we just break out of the totalitarian system, say no, this far, no further? And how do we bring it to people's attention without scaring them pants off them, basically, which would then do the job of the cabal, if you like, for them. They, you know, because fear is what they feed on. So it's that's, for me, is the conundrum that I'm at the minute, and I would be happy to just leave that there hanging for people to think about, or for people to come back at me with it. And now I'm going to I've given you my where I am at the moment, and now I'm going to go to Julie, who's come in, and then I'll work around the screen in that way. Julie, do you have anything for us this week?
Well, yes. I mean, I've set up a WhatsApp group for A Course in Miracles so that we can support each other. And I mean, anyone's welcome to join it if they want to. And I do say you don't have to just like or, you know, say thanks for the different postings, but it'd be nice if people interact on there. And I know it's about the 6th time of me doing A Course in Miracles since about 2010 when I was first introduced to it. And obviously, I've just been teaching the controlled remote viewing 2 weeks ago, and then a refresher course last weekend for remote viewing. And I am going beyond this physicality on a lot of things. So it makes a lot of sense. I've not heard that word particularly, but I have written it down now. So I will be looking.
Sorry?
Kordylewski or whatever it was.
Kordylewski clouds, yes.
Yeah, Kordylewski clouds. And when you look at, because I mean, I've connected with angels ever since doing healing, knowingly. Perhaps I connected with them before, but I didn't realise. And I know one of the strengths I was told with my remote viewing is that I talk to dead people and I connect with angels. And I don't see that as weird, apart from if you could say that weird is wonderful. So I don't need sort of criticising for anything like that. I know the experiences I have. And it's interesting that you're coming to that and things as well. I mean, I've just decided I'm going to move back to my other house and sell this one. Then at least I'll have some liquid cash again, which I haven't had ever since I moved here. So that's been my focus at the moment, is getting this house, but still loving where I am. So my current address is the Chantry, and that Chantry means land or property gifted to priests or priestesses for them to chant for their life's soul's purpose. And I knew it was right for me to come here. It's transformed my life in lots of ways. And I'm also going to love being here, but looking forward to moving back as well. So yeah, and I know the England board had a meeting yesterday. I've not heard any feedback about it, but they were certainly due to be having the meeting yesterday. So I'm hoping someone might feed back to us on that at some point, or if anyone knows anything more about it, I'd be very interested. And yeah, we just need to keep with love, and fear may come up, but we have to face our fears. So thank you.
Yes, well, and love dissolves it. You can't be in a state of fear and love at the same time. It's not possible. So if you can stay in love and just, you know, you be the observer, not don't buy into it, don't generate the loosh, don't give it that power. It's really hard because, of course, as soon as anything goes wrong, you have a reaction. You're just trying to.
I've also written that word loosh down because I've not heard that one before either.
Oh, right. I think it just means low vibrational sort of energies like anger and everything. And it's quite a trap, because if you tell, you know, anytime you mention people trying to control you or whatever using fear, they're going to get angry about it and fearful. And so you're sort of generating more loosh. And it just seems to me that this is one, while the world is beautiful and everything, there is a big setup, and that includes what I would call now, what I'm now thinking of as the reincarnation trap. It's a big loosh factory, which we must stop. We must stop being loosh producers, basically, because I do think it's feeding it and making it happen faster, making it more easy. And I do think if everybody got into a state of love, we could just go, we'd basically just not be able to exist. which
But
is
also over the last 2 weeks, we've had discussion, or I've had discussions with many people about the labels of ADHD and ADD and dyslexia and the positives of those. And actually, our education system is really closing people down that have those symptoms, and we need to really open that up. And that's why I'm so glad that people are homeschooling more now. We need to stop these bums on seats with the prison-like schools. And yeah, get
Well, you
living.
know, even the inventor, I'm going to call him an inventor of ADHD, said this isn't, you know, that it wasn't a real thing, that basically it's an excuse, it's a box for it's an excuse for schools not to let kids express themselves, not for the to not serve the kids as they need it, and just to put them in the Ritalin queue, which does I've seen this Ritalin queue. It's a real thing. I couldn't believe kids queuing up for Ritalin, which is what they use to stop ADHD. And what you're doing is you're shutting down their spirit. It's as simple as that. These are kids that want to be outside in the world, doing things, exploring, and they're not supposed to be sat in a classroom for 5 hours a day. It's just not. As you can see, it's just, basically ADHD means that they are expressing their nature.
Yeah.
That's what it means. And it's and then they are unable to be crushed by without a drug.
But what we need to do is help them to learn to comply enough, because we do need to fit into society enough, but also be able to acknowledge our creativity and use it in positive ways when we're not having to comply quite so much. But also, if we can give people a bit of a different viewpoint on life through our wonderfulness, then that is where we can be. Shine our light.
Need to indulge here. This is really bad of me, but I do think that the society and the school system in particular is designed to disconnect you. We need to change that. So it's very much about stimulating the left side of the brain, and we're noticing it even more now with the crushing of the arts, which is getting very underfunded, very shut down in schools, and they are marking them very low at GCSEs, the arts and the humanities. So, and what that does is makes you see tiny little detail, tiny bits of the picture, but not the whole. So you can't see the whole story of what's going on, because that's the right side of the brain. So just about everything is about shutting down the right side and the corpus callosum, which does the bridging. And, without that, we're much more easily controlled, because you've got the left side, which likes control, likes to know what things are, likes definite answers, doesn't really care if they're right or wrong, just wants the detail, wants to know what's what. And the right side, which is the big exploring side, takes the detail and creates. So I think it's I do think part of the Loosh Factory is also a big part of the agenda is shutting down that side, and we see it with the taking away of the beauty, with the bringing in ugliness wherever they can. So I do think that's also part of it. And I like the Course in Miracles thing, because I think one of the first things they say is they get you to repeat for a few minutes, look at things and go, nothing I see is real. That door is not real. That fire is not real. That is not real. And I do think there is an element of us living in an illusionary reality. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, I think we should move on from that side of things and go to now. The next person on my screen is Daniel. Is he? Are you able to speak, Daniel? There he is. Hello, Daniel.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Looking
How are
very
you?
chilled.
Yeah, just relaxing.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got nothing particularly to say today.
Okay. Cool. Well, absorb then, and then maybe something will crop up later when you go, oh, they're talking rubbish here, or oh, that really resonates. That just clicks with whatever I heard the other week. That sometimes happens, and you can start putting the dots in line. But thank you for joining us, and it's nice to see you. Okay, and now you've messed up my screen because now I can't see. So I'm going to go to Carrie next. Are you able to unmute Carrie and Michael?
Yes, we are. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And yes, Lynn,
And
that was
congratulations on Cornwall. I gather you're now a nation.
allegedly, yes. I don't know anymore because I didn't go to the last community assembly meeting because I was ill. So I'm not sure what's going on, but yeah, there's so much happening. It's like being on a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But yes, I understand about Lucia. I understand about the recycling of humans, and I think that's why you have that life review, because they feed off that as well, all the horror that's happened to you in your life, and then you have to enter into a contract, and they sort of talk you around to, oh, you need to go back because you need to learn this and that and blah blah. So yes, it's good that we know about that trap, because that's only something I've recently found out.
Me too, very recent.
Yes, and I'm going to research that cloud thing. That looks really interesting.
Robert Temple is your man.
Oh, Robert Temple. Okay. Oh, you're brilliant. Thank you.
It's called The Science of New Earth. That's what I'm.
Well, we've recently finished reading a couple of rather large books: the Falsification of History and the Falsification of Science. And we've sent books to people. We've recommended them, and loads of people and friends are now buying them and reading them, and that is kind of making them realise how much falsification there is, how much we've been lied to right throughout history, etc., etc. And so that, I think that helps. Also, on the positive side, we're just about to start up a group, because I've recently befriended 3 ladies independently who are all homeschooling their children. So we're going to have a sort of wellness group once a month and just discuss different things and therapies and cures and, keeping healthy, and then do some creative stuff with the children. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Brilliant.
And we've actually went to a meeting with a group called Time to Wake Up Cornwall, and it's actually Devon and Cornwall, and I think there's one in Colchester, and I think they integrate with the National Residents Association as well. But the guy who did the talk, Glyn, I don't know his second name, he was actually an engineering management consultant in Saudi, which is kind of relevant because he's actually, after speaking to Cornwall Council for 5 years and trying to negotiate about, it's not just a one-sided thing about climate, etc., they said, oh, we're not talking to you anymore. So he's got a different approach, and he's saying that with their one-sided policies, that they could be going into a major regional planning catastrophe, and he's pointed that out to them, and he's trying to prove that they're not fit for purpose, and he's doing very well, and trying to bring to the table the other side of the scientific stuff that they choose to ignore because it doesn't fit in with their little agenda. Mm-hmm. So, good for him. He's doing stuff, and I think there's so many ways to skin a rabbit, isn't there? But the spiritual side is the big thing, because this world is not real, and we are the architects of our world, and what we think comes to pass. And I've done this so many times, like we went round to see some people to help them cut up apples and make some cider in their cider press. And I put my shorts on. It was a cold, misty morning. I thought, hold it, I'm putting my shorts on. And when we get to our friend's house, there's going to be blue sky. And I was totally convinced of it. And when we got there, blue sky and sunshine. So, and I've done that so many times, and I think it can't be coincidence. If you totally believe it, it happens. And so if more and more people get on board, then we are just going to create the world that we actually want, not the one that they want. So I'm hoping that is a very good way forward. because we're really fighting them on the same level, aren't we? You know,
Yeah.
the dark and the light.
Yeah, I think yeah, we have to be a bit careful, don't we, not to start using the same tactics and everything. Otherwise, we're just generating the energy that feeds
Yeah.
what they are
Yeah.
doing. It's a
Yeah.
This is what I say. You know, how do we do it? I think we've been quite good at keeping things fairly positive. I'm looking in the groups though and thinking some of this stuff now is getting to where it's scaring. It's about worry, it's about fear, it's about, oh, aren't they horrible what they're doing? And that's feeding it. That generates the energy that they feed off. And I think one of the reasons we were shadow banned so heavily on Twitter and other platforms was that the message was very much about love and about not generating that loosh. And you know, that was shut down immediately. And I think from that, what I take from that is that the so-called alternative media is now also heavily controlled by the people. I think Elon Musk is absolutely a wolf in sheep's clothing here. I really do. He's doing, you know, he's like, oh, I'm the free speech champion and all this, that and the other, while putting in exactly the things that are going to trap people into not being able to even think for themselves. So I do, him, possibly Trump as well. I do honestly think that you know, there is permitted alternative media, and it's the ones that feed the fear. They're now allowed to say the COVID's terrible and everything. They're allowed to do the conspiratorial theory stuff, as long as they don't stray into the reincarnation trap or the energy in these clouds or anything like that. That there might be some other energies, a bigger picture here, that has to do with sort of little stuff. And as soon as you say things like the world is not real, it's not as we see it, this is a, you know, some, like the Course in Miracles, nothing I see is real, this sofa is not real, that sort of thing. This is just dense plasma, dense matter.
It's all molecules.
Yeah, a little just a particularly low vibrational energy. Then then you tend to get shut down pretty quickly. So
Right.
So I do think we have to watch the alternative media, not perhaps not even, I'm personally pretty disconnected from a lot of it now. The bits I see, it's just like, yeah, that's same old, they're just recycling stuff, it's just another echo chamber. So we've I think you're not going to get any traction with our message on media, on mainstream alternative media or anything like that. I think being little physical meetings are definitely the way to go. Everything in the physical is the way I'm getting where I'm coming to. And try and pass on that brilliant energy, generate energy
all the time, because I think, well, we've started now to live every day to the full.
Yes.
And we're contemplating, you know, going on some of these walks on the Southwest Coast Path, because there's some lovely places to visit in Cornwall, and, you know, then maybe treating ourselves to an ice cream. I mean, these are little pleasures, but they are so lovely. And things
generating the energy that is,
and despite the fact that they want to rename the Southwest Coast Path to King Charles III, and everyone in Cornwall was going, right. You know what you can do with that. So they're trying to spoil everything, you know. And you've got all the solar farms coming in and lithium battery storage areas, and people are fighting that, and you could end up like,
I know, you have to be
all the time where, okay, I don't want to watch that. No, I'm not going there. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. And we're keeping it up the whole time, doing more meditation with our singing bowl, and just, you know, it's a bit like during the Second World War, you know, people kept up their morale, bombs were going off, everything was horrible, but they actually appreciated the little things in life. And I think we all need to get back to that. I know you all do, but, you know, everybody needs to get back to that and to have gratitude. I mean, I'm always grateful for, you know, just hot water in the morning in my shower, and it sounds very insignificant, but there's a lot of people that don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're going at the moment,
Excellent.
and that's where we're going to continue, I hope.
Okay, I like it.
So-
I think we, just as a very flippant aside, we should propose that they have a King Charles III walk in Ireland, I think, because you know how the Irish speak, and it would become King Charles III.
Yes, brilliant.
Let's do that. King Charles III.
I like that. I like that a
like
lot.
it. The turd.
Okay.
That's brilliant. We should just
Yeah.
definitely. I hadn't thought the Irish have this advantage over us, being able to say how they really feel.
And that's a good thing, because we should joke, we should laugh, we
Yeah,
should get
totally.
together, you know, and it's all lightness and love, and it's fantastic, and it lifts people out of the gloom all the time.
Totally.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Carrie. That's great. Roger, are you there? Are you able to talk to us?
I can speak, but I'm not really in this conversation because you're discussing subjects which I've never studied. So where have I
There's
gone?
always
Just-
more to study, Roger. Always.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like your ideas. Then I came in a bit late, so I didn't get all of them. But I like the idea that you say that God there's a little bit of God in all of us, and that's what I believe too.
I think we're all God. We are totally God, and you know, it's this unity thing, isn't it? God is everything, and you know, so, and we are also everything. We just have to remember that we're not separate from nature, God, all the rest of it. I think what we've been taught is a God of separation, a God that's sort of like a ruler and decides what is us. But we are God. We are the love. We are the wisdom. We are the one. We are the divine energy, and that's us. We're it. It's us, and we're a tiny bit of us is having this experience in the physical, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of credence in what you say.
Good. And what have you been up to this week, Roger? Have you been looking at the Albion thing?
Well, no, I haven't, because I don't know where to look for it. I mean, somebody said that a meeting had occurred, but you know, I would have expected to have been notified, and I wasn't notified of you know, the result of that meeting. So really, I haven't been up to much at all, except you know, except just researching common law, which I do all the time. You know, there's one particular chap whom I think is whose ideas are and knowledge is very valuable, called Graham Moore, with an E on the end of I think, and he's associated with was it the I can't remember now, it's some political party, but he's worth listening to. Yeah.
Excellent. Graham Moore, right. And what's he specialise in? Is he constitutional law?
Constitutional law. Yeah.
Yes, it's. I think all these things are joining up. The Constitution, as William Keat was explaining to us, is a spiritual thing, and we have to be in connection with our spirit to be able to enforce the Constitution. We have to be able to, you know, stand in our power this far and no further. You know.
Yeah.
Know our worth. And we only know our worth when we know that we are the divine beings that are in connection with the divine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we think little me, don't we? Little me, I'm, you know, what can I do? I'm just a little cog in the wheel or whatever. But we're not. We're all one. We're all part of creation. We are the creators and the created at the same time. If you, I think that's what Jesus's message was. I mean, the rest of the Bible is rubbish, but Jesus was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, Roger, the meeting was on Tuesday, and it was just the first board meeting. So I presume we'll get to know within due course. I mean, we're only on Thursday now, so I'll be surprised if they don't let us know a bit more.
Yeah, well, I'd like to know, because I'm very optimistic about that avenue of development, you know, of government. So I'm hoping to hear what transpired from that meeting.
Yeah, that's a very positive thing, isn't it? That we do our own. That yes, this is our system now. That, we're doing our own thing as we are divine spirits, and we can do that. Okay, so is that it, Roger? Are you complete?
Yeah, there's nothing else I've got to say which is of any benefit to the conversation now.
We could have a new conversation. But anyway, I'll go to Rachel, and if anything crops up, then come back to us. Rachel, you did the reading. I'm sure you've got some news though.
Yeah, there's always lots going on. Yeah, it's interesting everything that we're discussing, and it's really nice that we're putting this into a kind of spiritual, vibrational, energetic context. I mean, the great example for me yesterday was earlier in the day. I was hit by several waves, energetic waves, which were like trying to sink my ship. I had the police freedom of information requests, which it wasn't a freedom of information request. It was all of the, I'd asked for evidence to do the investigation around the Derbyshire Gestapo on my door. So of course they sent me this highly watered down apology for what I actually required and requested. And then I got another court thing, which was just like an intimidation, bullying thing from this big corporation. And it was just like, it was, I could feel literally my nervous system activated, and to the extent where I thought, I don't even know if I can go out tonight. I feel so activated. And I thought, oh, what would Julie do? So I went actually and lay down, and I listened to a guided meditation, a very calming, soothing, angelic meditation, interestingly, just a 30-minute one, and just allowed my whole nervous system to calm to the point where I thought, right, I'm going to jump in the car and I'm going to go. And I'm so glad I went to that event last night. And it showed me the contrast between the false matrix and this Wetiko, which is constantly trying to pull us down and break our energy and to shatter our energetic grid. And then the antidote of just being with people and singing and as I said, the music and laughter and just and also total non-judgment. There was no sort of sense of competition or someone going wrong and everyone laughing at them. It was just all complete space of love, of absolute acceptance of whatever anyone wanted to bring, and it didn't matter if they hit a bum note or their singing was a little bit off at times, or it didn't matter. It was just complete non-judgmental giving and receiving of beautiful energy, and it's like, wow, it's such an antidote. So yeah, I just wanted to say though on the thing about love, because we've said this right from the beginning, that there's this mistaken thing that love is this soft, fluffy marshmallow thing. And one of the things I've been looking at a lot is like the Buddhist concept of the bodhisattvas. And there are 3 key bodhisattvas, and one of them is compassion, of like that total love, infinite compassion and love. But there's also Manjushri with his sword of wisdom cutting through the illusion, a bit like you were saying about Course in Miracles. And he's literally cutting through the illusion, and it's a sword of truth and wisdom. That it is an illusion, and it's cutting through. And then there's also Vajrapani, and he's the fierce bodhisattva. Now, interestingly, he came in with the Thich Nhat Hanh story, which went with my Derbyshire Gestapo video. And the fierce bodhisattva holds a magic wand, the Vajra, and his job is to break the curses and the spells and the patterns that we're being held in. And this trio is not just compassion. There's also the sword of truth and the magic wand of breaking the curses. So something simple like you're talking about ADHD and all of these labels and these pharmaceutical protocols and the labels, and oh, she's an anti-vaxxer, oh, she's a witch, oh, she's a far-right extremist, or he's a far-right extremist, or they're a conspiracy theorist. So the labels, the judgment and the labels are the way that the system puts people in little pockets to be able to diagnose or sentence them or inject them or give them a pill or put them here in society or shame them. And so these are all the tools of the false matrix, which is really important for us to be aware of, because the Wetiko, which is feeding off this loose energy of fear and judgment and shame, it's creating all of this. It's needing to feed like loose energy, and it's up to us to shine the light of conscious awareness, and that is the truth of St. George and the Dragon. That his lance is a shaft of consciousness. It's not actually a weapon, and so it's like, I see you. And you can also catch it in yourself, like a Wetiko thought, and can literally just catch it and go, gotcha, you know. And the minute you bring it into conscious awareness, it loses all its power. So we're under a spell, and cutting through the illusion and breaking these spells is really, really important for both ourselves and others. And not going into judgment, but just like being conscious of what's playing out, you know. So there's so much here, and I'm really pleased that we're really putting a lot of energy into the antidote to how we break the false matrix, because that truly is, and it's not, to me, it's not a battle. It's about using these metaphysical tools, even something as simple as laughter or kindness or music, or truth, and breaking the illusion of the false matrix so it has no power. And that's why the Wetiko is desperate now, desperately trying to create
it's so desperate.
nuclear
See
war.
why they're so keen now to get our brains locked down using AI.
Yes.
It's really important to them because people are waking up, because people are going, actually, what the hell? You know, we've literally, what the hell? We've been duped, and what they've got to do is get the AI in place to control thoughts before everybody goes.
It's heartless. It's heartless, and it's soulless, and it's so it's just in the mind, like yes, no, off, on, machine learning, and we have to, if we're in the heart. So this is the thing: rather than being in the mind, trying to work it all out, being in the heart of being in that vibration of resonance, where you can tell when something's fake, like all these AI fake videos, where you can tell they're not human, they haven't got the resonance of truth, they haven't got the resonance of love and authenticity and clarity. You know, this is the clarity. So this is our true. It's really important for us to really tune in of what is truth and what is resonant and what is off and faked and duped and trying to trick us. Yeah.
And don't forget, Rachel, when you're being triggered by some corporate bullying letter, it's not even a person behind it most of the time. It's come up off a computer. They're not.
This was actually it was a paralegal who'd written it, who was a trained bully.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. But a lot of them. I mean, we got one off Octopus. We've had one off Octopus for ages. That keeps sending it, and it's obviously just computer generated. And every time Paul goes, "Oh, for God's sake!" No.
No, this is a court. This is a court hearing which is looming next week, and it is written by a trained corporate bully. But I do recognise, like my childhood, because I had 4 brothers, I had a training in how to deal with bullies. And so older me, I recognised that bullying energy. But when I was young and I couldn't fight and I couldn't flight and I froze and older me is like, right, I recognise this and I have the tools to be able to deal with it. And it's like, no. You're not going to do this to me, and I will take that to the end. And I'm shining a light onto the corruption of this big energy company. They're actually owned, they're a big asset management company owned in Australia that make like billions of turnover, that have mopped up all of the energy companies all over the world, and they're just bullying and hoovering up the money. It's a David and Goliath situation, and I'm kind of like, I'm going to take you on, and I'm going to shine a light on the corruption of this industry. It is to do with energy.
And you have to remember, when people are bullying, they've lost the argument. If they're having to bully, there's a reason. So there's a way they're doing something wrong, and I can find it, because they wouldn't have to bully me if they had a case. They had right on their side here.
I mean, I counterclaim for extortion, and I said, and stress and anxiety, and I've counterclaimed for compensation. And in this bullying thing, it said the defendant says she has mental health issues. Well, they took that me saying that I'm claiming compensation for the stress and anxiety that I've been caused over a sustained number of years, and also having my car dragged off in a dawn raid, and having to have it returned to me later that day, because they knew that what they were doing was unlawful and illegal, and the hell that they have put me through. And when I said when I called it stress and anxiety, they
called it mental health.
She has got mental health issues. So it's like they're planting the seed in the court's mind that we're dealing with a nutter.
Yeah.
It's absolutely outrageous and corrupt. And I just this system, this justice system, and don't get me started. I know Roger and I would have a lot of conversations about the justice system, but we have to, this is it's completely corrupt, and we have to reclaim our right to justice across all parts of society. This is
our right to be people.
Yeah, and even even just little groups where people act as judge, jury, executioner, and aren't prepared to go through the rigor of, if they have an allegation, to actually air it in public and allow their allegation to be aired, and whoever they're accusing to be able to defend themselves, and all evidence to be heard, and for the people to make the decision. This judge, jury, executioner, and it's a dynamic in society where we find people guilty without giving people a fair trial. It happens. It's this persecutor victim rescuer dynamic, and it's very corrosive. It's very divisive, and it's important for us to reclaim justice. Is it true? Innocent until proven guilty. If you have an allegation, if you have an accusation, be prepared to stand in public and evidence and voice it, and be prepared to hold the space for whoever you've accused to be able to put their side and to actually defend themselves, and then allow the people to make the decision, the jury of 12 independent people, to assess, are you guilty beyond reasonable doubt based on the evidence provided? And this is the essence of justice, and we've lost it in society. We're encouraged to name, shame, label, judge, act as judge, jury, executioner. And this is actually, sorry, I'm ranting, but this Aries Libra full moon, which is happening in this call, it's aligned to Pallas Athena. It's to do with Libra. It's the scales of justice. It is coming to that center point where we're coming out of that judgment into the discipline of justice, and it's a really important. If we want to transcend duality and get to that spiritual. That's why William Keats says that justice is and law is a highly spiritual thing, because it's how we transcend the illusion, the delusion of duality.
So either we're accepting the little me and the slavery thing, or we're saying, standing in our power and going, I am a divine being, and I've got every right to be here and every right to do what I do. And if you've got a problem with that, then you challenge it. Publicly.
And that's why the judgment card in the tarot is the final hurdle before Enlightenment 21. The 20th card, the judgment card, that is the hurdle that trips us up. And if we can transcend judgment into enlightenment and unity, the unity consciousness, it's all God, and it's all a training program, and it's all a test. And it's all a test for us to cut through the illusion and to transcend duality. I mean, that's pretty
getting
powerful.
Out of illusion is, and I include the reincarnation trap with that. Into which is the four-dimensional reality, I suppose, and then getting into the fifth dimension.
This is an evolutionary event that we're going through.
Very evolutionary, absolutely. And I was, it's interesting what you said about the heart, but that the heart, two people have said now very recently. One was a PhD student who's been studying the heart for about 10 years, and he didn't mean to, but he came across this thing, this anomaly, that when you stop the heart, the blood keeps flowing. And he's like, well, all my training, and mine too, says that the heart is the pump and it pumps you out. And then he says, but when you just stop and think, the heart is about this big, like literally about that big. It cannot, and blood vessels go around the earth about 2 times or something ridiculous. They go a long way. There's a lot of blood vessel. I was like, well, of course a pump that size can't pump blood that distance. I was like, oh my God, he's right. It's so obvious. And so in fact, you feel a real idiot because you think you know everything about it. And he spent 10 years trying to find out what actually powered the blood. And I'm not saying the heart doesn't give it a bit of a push, but now you know more than most cardiac surgeons, actually, because they just assume that it's the heart that does the pumping. But actually, it's powered by infrared light, light from the heat, light from the sun, from the earth. And that's what keeps your blood moving around at least half an hour after death, which is incredible, after your heart stops. But so there's that. I'm just like, nothing we're told is true. Nothing. You could rely on the heart being a pump, but actually it's not. It's much more than that. It's a receptor. It's a receiver of this enormous amount of energy from the spiritual. That's what it is. It's our connection to it's a big portal, isn't it, for the divine energy to come in, and it's the heart that rules the head and that sort of thing. As the Chinese will say, it's the emperor. So yeah, incredible. I was just like, oh, I can't even rely on that. None of my science is right. So, but very interesting. So, where we're going with all this, and realizing that so much more of the body is energetic than physical. It's very dense. The physical is just a very dense level of energy, but actually, most of us. That's the anomaly. Actually, the physical is the anomaly. Most of the universe is this plasma material. This very fluid, very energetically active, full of potential substance, what we that can become conscious. Yeah, maybe, but plasma actually, even we're certain our bodies are electromagnetic, but the space in between that is all plasma. The 99% of what we are is this space, and it's filled with this plasma, not blood plasma. The energetic plasma that we're talking about, sort of not random, non-formed atoms, ions, subatomic particles, quantum particles, that sort of thing. Interesting stuff. So yeah, there's a lot to get in there, and we still have to. I think the main thing is to make sure that we don't feed the loosh, and that's the challenge for the group. I think, especially the Telegram group, is not to recycle the loosh stuff. There's the mainstream alternative media, I think, is falling into that trap a lot of the time, of feeding the fear, looking at things going, oh, isn't it terrible, just like the Daily Mail does, oh, it's awful, isn't it, it's look at the horrible things they're doing, and actually feeding exactly the energy we don't want to feed. So that's the challenge for us, is to keep those groups looking at the expansion and not the niggle stuff. So yeah, excellent. I think there's one more challenge I will put out there. is what's been puzzling me, and it might have puzzled a lot of you, is the compliance of a lot of people. It's like, how can they not see this? How can they just go along with this? How can they, why do they not care when I tell them this? They're just like, oh yeah, oh right. Really? Oh. So many people, if they even listen to it, don't seem bothered that they've been given horrible jabs, or they've been sprayed from the air, or anything. And it's the idea that ties in with the population explosion, if you like. 7 billion people since the early 1900s is a hell of a growth. The possibility that not all these people are divine incarnations, that some of them are what we might call observer spectators in a game, like the sort of background scenery of a game. So these people, and I'm not saying, I don't know, these apparent beings who don't seem to have any problem with what's going on, or who don't seem are there to induce compliance in those of us who do, is a possible thought. It's a, I don't know. Does anyone have a view on that? Non-spectator, non-participant observers,
non-player characters, apparently they're called in gaming. My son talks about
non-player
non-player characters.
In gaming, yeah, exactly like non-player characters. They're just the ones wandering around making it look real, you know. And I just, it's just a thought that because the huge level of apparent compliance, it was puzzling to me, really puzzling. And I just, I hear 80% of people have no inner dialogue, never talking to themselves. Goodness. Okay.
I think Michael was wanting to speak.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was me. Yeah, it was very interesting what you just said, because I read a lot of science fiction when I was, you know, for my teens, and I still do. And I think that kind of broadens out your creative perspective, and you just get to this stage where you think, well, why not? Anything's possible.
Yeah.
And
well, is it? Anything is possible.
And I agree about people who are so asleep, you know, neighbours of ours, and when you say something, oh look, there's sort of got chemtrails today, and they carry on the conversation as if you haven't said anything, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah. And I do wonder if we've got if we've had a lot of, you know, if we've have present a lot of non-player characters, people who are not
why not?
I think the divine the divine people have to be the people who have this connection with the 5D are necessary to keep whatever sick game going is going. We need that creativity, that connection. But I think, you know, a good way of controlling us would to be create an illusion that we're very much in a minority, if you see what I mean. By having non-player characters, it would just, you know, a computer simulation, it seems. Some of the holograms that are so sophisticated, you could think it was all a holographic thing, couldn't you?
Yeah, we just have to be careful not to become paranoid and sort of not believe anything. So it's difficult.
I'm not going to go around looking at people.
No, you're not, and I'm not. And sometimes I just think, well, it's like a game of chess.
I mean, maybe that's just their role. That's just what they've come to do. They're just here to be observers. I don't know.
It's a game, and I know, you know, I was brought up to be very serious and studious and take life seriously, and I kind of broke the mold eventually. And I if I find myself getting maudlin like that, I just think, no,
it's particularly maudlin. It's sort of like,
let's have some fun.
It's almost like oh right, that's why they don't care. That would be a reason. That would be an explanation, because I don't have a logical explanation.
No.
And I don't think it is. I don't think it is just, you know, I can't see the extent of the brain programming being enough to stop people seeing what is so bloody obvious. You know, what's so obvious, and why. I mean, I don't want people to get angry. I don't want them to get scared. But just to not even see it is just something I don't get. But that would, to me, provide a sort of.
But think back to when we didn't know all this. So I think, you know, I try and have patience with some people, and eventually there's little breakthroughs. Not with everybody, but I never kind of give up entirely. And you just don't know when you might ignite something, or, you know, there's suddenly something will happen in their life, and they'll think.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
I remember Carrie said, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, she might be right. So I think I'm always optimistic and hopeful that, you know, we get through to people. I always start up conversations wherever I go. If I've got leaflets of the farmers movement and goodness knows what in my bag constantly, and people will say, you know, like in a shop, in a queue, oh, I don't know what's going on. And I go, oh, I do. Oh, do you? I go, yeah. Would you like one of these leaflets that will explain a few things? And you know, they're tiny things, but I think they're quite relevant,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
because it's like I liken it to taking out bits of mortar from a brick wall, and at first the brick wall is standing, it looks perfectly all right, you know, but then one day just a little bit more of mortar, a bit like the Jenga game, and the whole lot comes crashing down, but it's not apparent, and you feel like you're not making any headway, but I've always believed that we are.
Oh, I think so. I
Mm.
agree with you, Daniel, that yes, there's definitely things, there definitely are drugs that shut down. And electromagnetic waves as well. It's not just drugs. There are electromagnetic frequencies that definitely do that. A lot of it, I think, is about keeping our own energy high and expanded so that they can't, you know, it's almost like a shield, isn't it? Like you've got this big expanded bubble around. It's much more difficult for these electromagnetic frequencies to penetrate, because we've got this, you know, big shield of love, wisdom, divine around us. So it's about, you know, keeping expanded. But I do think that it's a really interesting conversation to be having, and to sit, you know, to move things from being, you know, just looking at the problem, if you like, and seeing it as probably what the problem we're allowed to see is possibly not the whole story, and probably only a small little bit just to keep us annoyed.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a big issue. Perhaps we're just looking at the wrong thing, which is, especially, I think most of the mainstream media are looking at the wrong thing. Oh, Rachel's got her hand up, and because it's nearly time as well, so it is over time.
Yeah,
actually.
just a very
Rachel.
Just a very quick thing to pick up on what Julie just put into the chat about proper plants and meat creating DMT and creativity, because I was gifted an organic beef box by Dean, who's the farmer, Dean of Buxton, and so I've been eating meat, red meat, which I haven't done for years, and I can really notice the difference in my health and vitality and energy, and I think it's really helped with my thyroid, iodine, all of these natural minerals. It's like, wow. And I really, I mean, I know it's a bit of a hot potato subject, isn't it? The minute you start talking about food or vegan or meat,
well,
there's a lot to be said for it. My
daughter's been very into, well, she became vegetarian, but she's really got her head screwed on. It's like, oh, don't get at me about this ethical stuff, because, you know, if you're going to go eating palm oil, you're going to be killing a lot of animals. So let's not get too moralistic about it. But so what she does is she's very much about, I will eat animals if I know it's been killed properly. I buy venison that I know has been shot using stalking methods, and they've had one shot. That's it. You know, so I know.
Also, Lynn, if you think what you said earlier about plant consciousness, we need to be respectful with plants as well, and thank them as we eat them, and you know, as we eat them or whatever. Yeah,
totally. Just the other day, I read that, you know, measuring plant sounds, how a field of wheat will start generating a lot of sound, like a fear sound when a combine enters the field. So and how trees communicate using a network underground of mycelium. So we are, yeah, we're mistaken, I think, if we think we aren't doing something when we eat. But you know, which I think feeds into my idea of us possibly worshipping a false god, because I don't think a false god, I don't think a real loving, wise creator would do that. And we have to remember that we are the god, we are the creator. No, we wouldn't do that. But we're in this 3D reality that we've got trapped in, and that's how we're having to live at the moment. But it doesn't mean we have to go asking this psychopath god who's put these weird mechanisms in place for forgiveness or anything like that. We are the ones to forgive ourselves. We're the ones to understand ourselves and be the wisdom, embody the wisdom and the love. And don't go, you know, put not thy faith in princes. Don't go looking to anyone else, not even God, for an answer, because we are.
It is Wetiko. It is lower dimensional, lower non-human, like working through the cracks and traumatized people, and it is satanic, and that it is demonic what we're dealing with. I think
what we call the god that religions worship, I do think is possibly more like Satan, or another face of.
It's a corruption. It's
So
a
I think
basically
that's why I have to remember,
spirituality was corrupted through religion as a
Exactly.
way of to control. Yeah, for sure.
which is why I think we have to remember that we're the gods, we're the divine, we're the, you know, and not look outside of that, not look to, you know, whatever it is on the 4-dimensional, you know, whoever's judging us on the day of judgment and blah blah blah. Ignore all that, you know. You know, it's that's possibly the thing we're feeding, and we're just being a bit silly.
Yeah, and the power of the imagination to co-create what we do want, and that's why they
Yeah.
keep putting our attention on what we don't want.
And
whereas-
shutting down the right hemisphere, which
Yeah.
can do the imagining. Yes,
really
yeah.
important. Let's keep focusing on co-creating what
So
we
I've,
do
yeah, I
want.
have actually started doing, you know, making sure I do some music every day and some drawing, just get that right hemisphere going a bit. So it's quite interesting, but there's a lot of things we can definitely do. Not what were you saying, Julie, before we go? Palmer is a mechanical, but yeah, the Bible's a bit bossy. The Bible is psychopathic in places. I mean, I wouldn't put up with it from people. You know, oh,
Well,
you want to sacrifice your son? Get lost.
The Bible
I'm
was
not
only
going to put up with it from an all-powerful being who can definitely avoid that.
the Bible was only translated into English relatively recently, in hundreds of years' time, and a lot of it has been mistranslated, and also putting those seeds there for, oh, you're so faithful to God that you take your son to crucify or kill him or whatever. Oh, and then you're only going to kill an animal.
I'm afraid I just swear at that. You want me to sacrifice something, do you? Get lost. So, and in the nicest, you know, that's me saying it politely, but actually it's, it would come out very rude. But and also don't forget that so little was put in the Bible. There's not, you know, nothing that actually matters. Really, there's you get elements, that you get little bits of truth, little bits, but most of the good stuff has been shunted out and is locked away in the Vatican vaults or the
What we need to remember is to live with totally unconditional love. That doesn't mean that we allow people to walk all over us. So we might positively assert.
You love yourself as well.
Yeah, and definitely love yourself, but also remember, Jesus said even a thought about, that's a nasty thought about someone, is as harmful as even murder or whatever. So the more we can live with love and think with love and be love, that is where we need to be. But I need to be
Perfect
going.
ending. Perfect ending. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I think we can stop recording now after that very wide-ranging conversation.